Drop.
Check, mic check, 1 2 1 2. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back, everybody. This is Gaming Daily Live. I am Icy Gaming. You're tuned in to the best crypto gaming show, maybe one of the only crypto gaming shows, but nonetheless, we are excited to be here. I'm excited to be here. I hope you're having a great day. I don't have much to report. I mean, it's like, I don't know. Life is lifing right now. For anyone who is following along, we did put down the payment for the car. We should be picking it up tomorrow, so I'm very excited about that. If that is news to you, my girlfriend and I have been negotiating a new car for her, and it was. I never want to buy a used car again. It was a terrible experience. Would not recommend. But we are excited to have it over and done with. We have an exciting episode for you today. Let me stop yapping. But before we get into today's guest, we do got to shout out the sponsors that make this show possible. Not only do we have their logos up, but I'm wearing the merch. It's a part of the contract. Shout out to Blaze. Shout out to YGG. I wouldn't be able to do this without them. So massive shout out to them. We are live on Blaze. We are live all over the place. But let's talk about today's guest. And before I do, let me just share the my little screen here. We work so hard on these graphics. I want to show them off. Today's guest is Matthew Shera. I hope I pronounced that right, Matthew. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Game director at Anomaly Games. It's an AI-powered Web3 Layer 3 gaming platform built on Telegram. Apparently, they've passed 300,000 users, so that's super cool. I want to talk more about that. But before Anomaly, Matthew was at our good friends Horizon Blockchain Games, leading the economy redesign for Skyweaver. Huge shout out to Skyweaver, Sequence, Michael Sanders, the family over there, which is one of the most technically serious Web3 trading card games ever built. So excited to talk to the game designer, the mathematician, the wizard behind it. He has spent the last several years figuring out why Web3 games lose players and building the tools to fix that. So I'm very excited to chat with him today. So without further ado, let's bring Matthew on to the stage. Matthew, how you doing, brother?
Hey, Isaac, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. I really appreciate your time. And, you know, if you consider Michael Sanders family, then I think we're family too. So it's kind of just how it works when you're working on those projects for so long. And I always appreciate the Skyweaver shout out. That was how I got my start, and really what made me fall in love with this community of amazing gamers that love Web3 and emerging technologies. So I really appreciate it.
Likewise, likewise. Matthew, I think that's like a great place to start. Like talking about how you got into Skyweaver. Like, tell me that kind of backstory. Was that your first kind of foray into crypto and game design, or kind of like what were you doing, and then how did you end up there?
Yeah, so essentially, I went to school for mechatronics engineering, and then I basically graduated and was looking around for positions and trying to find something that really spoke to me. And I had been really interested in crypto since about 2014, and for me, I was always concerned about the utility of it. Looking at Ethereum and NFTs and tokenization and what that means for the future of trade. And for me, I always come from like the trading card background, because that's what I loved when I was a kid. And so I always sort of aspire to make something feel as connected as a real life trading game and trading card game. And so I think my background in playing card games professionally, and then engineering, just kind of led me to apply to a bunch of these roles. And finally, I got my foot in the door, started as a junior intern at Horizon. And then basically,
was that just because it was kind of like a local thing at the time? Like, you just saw like a job posting kind of thing, or what was that?
Yeah, so actually, one of my friends was one of the first developers on the game.
Cool.
And so basically I was like, oh, it's Web3 and it's a trading card game. These are two things I love. I need to work on this game. I'm going to do anything for them. And so I applied constantly for every role that they had open, and until they finally let me in as an intern.
What year was this?
And oh gosh,
2017, 18, something like that.
Yeah, maybe 2016, 2015.
Oh wow.
Yeah, pretty early. And it was super fun because we were just on the frontier of it.
Yeah.
We were like, I always remember before the mass populace of people talked about account abstraction, we called it lazy octopus, which was our internal testing name for like, oh, if someone wants to play a game, the accessibility is so important. Why do we want to shove a wallet in their face as soon as they sign up? So why don't we abstract that account until someone signs in later, so you don't have that churn moment where someone's like, oh, why do I have to give you my email account to play this video game?
Yeah. Man, I love that. I mean, yeah, Sequence, Horizon Labs, Skyweaver, so ahead of their time. I feel like they don't get enough credit or shine, because I'm sure, so much of what they worked on and what you guys worked on back then, laid so many of the building blocks and foundations for kind of like where things ended up getting to and going. Obviously, Sequence was bought by Polygon, and now they're doing a big
Polygon,
thing. Yeah, acquired. They were a big sponsor of this show last year. Michael Sanders and I have known each other since 2022. They sponsored or they supported and sponsored my first award show, which was a big undertaking. So they've always put their money where their mouth is and supported Web3 gaming and done a lot there. So that's really cool to hear that that's where you come from. I feel like, it's a weird analogy, but it's like the teams there kind of remind me of like, early days of like Coinbase, like what Coinbase did for crypto, like, Horizon and Skyweaver really in Sequence, did for crypto gaming and whatnot. So That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
Just off of that point, I mean, like, one of the really amazing things of working on Skyweaver was like we had a really big audience, and so we had some of the best data for actual usability of wallets. And so like whenever we wanted to say, you know, like, hey, come play our game, we weren't going to make it some abrasive thing, and we got to spend the time tuning that and, you know, understanding what someone actually wants to do when they sign up.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it just transitions to Polygon so well, because it's that experience, right? You want to capture that moment where someone says, this is my first time making a wallet, or this is my first time playing a Web3 game. And I don't want to be scared, you know? I want to feel like I'm using something made by Visa or Apple, you know?
I love that that your journey, you know, dates back as far back. I mean, we're Unk status, man, 2014, 2015, 2016. But to hear like just getting a sense of your passion and energy for crypto gaming and you know, the space, it's refreshing. I got to be honest. So Matthew, what is like, what's how did that transition now to Anomaly? Like, what was kind of your journey to getting to Anomaly?
Yeah, so when Skyweaver ended, you know, we were all sort of, everyone on the team was looking for like amazing things to do, and I just so happened to be on LinkedIn, and I'd seen the progression of our Anomaly CEO Long, for a long time, just through the community based in Toronto, you know, working at game studios, working in emerging technology. And so I reached out to Long and said, you know, I love what you're doing. I want to be a part of this. And if in any way possible, I'd love to help. And so Long basically said, you know, right now, this is exactly what we need. We need someone that can help us lead the vision for these games, help us create these IPs that are relatable and connectable and can go viral. And so we sort of had this onboarding phase where I freelanced for a bit, and we worked on some projects like that. And then they brought me on full time, and I'm just so honored to work with everyone there, because they're all such titans. You know, if you need something done in 10 minutes and you're waiting for a PR, or you need copy changed, everyone on the team is willing to join and help out and make sure that our products are as good as possible, because at the end of the day, love and effort shine through, you know, and when people see love and effort in a product, then they want to keep playing it, you know, and they want to relate to it, and they want to ask for more, and they want to support us as a studio. So, I mean, the start of Anomaly for me was like crazy. Like, let's make all these games as fast as possible using, you know, using AI, using Web3, making sure emerging technology is at the forefront so that players feel like they're having unique experiences and being part of something that's going forward and you know, thinking about the future.
I love that, man. I have so many questions for you. I guess, when did you, what is the backstory of Anomaly? When did you kind of join them? And what is that vision for Anomaly? You kind of just described it. Sounds like a bit of a game studio, you know, on the website, you know, we're powering play with AI, and kind of has this like player retention, almost seems like kind of like infrastructure. So I don't know if it's like kind of a tech platform for games, or a layer onto games, or help me understand, I guess, like, when did you join Anomaly? When did it kind of start? And then like, what is the goal and vision, and, you know, how's it work?
Yeah, so I joined Anomaly 2 years ago, and essentially Anomaly is sort of a dev shop. You know what I mean? pick up people that are masters of their craft and try our best to utilize those people in making products that fit Web3 and emerging technology and AI. And basically, the foundation of what we want to do is use these new tools to understand why players are playing games, why players are retaining for certain things, why players would want to play one game and not another game. What keeps people coming back? What makes IPs timeless? And so basically, what we want to do is really understand players the best of anyone, and aggregate that knowledge to the point at which we can create these timeless moments that people connect to. And so if that's us building Pocket Nights on Sonium and using that technology and that platform to bring fans together and say, can we expand this? Can we give people real NFT rewards that are meaningful and have gameplay features? Can we create things that are timeless? And so that's sort of our focus. Is it powering play with AI, powering play with creating play that hasn't been done before.
I like that. I like that a lot. I want to dive into that, but I guess like before I do, Matthew, since like you have such a great resume in crypto gaming, before we talk about Pocket Nights and maybe some of the things that Anomaly is doing, I guess like what's been your perspective on crypto gaming, and how has it changed or evolved over the past 5 to 10 years that you've been in this space? Because I have to imagine when you started building, at Skyweaver in 2015, 2016, anything was possible. And it was this whole, like, this grand vision. I mean, on one hand, it might have been even like, we don't even know if this is possible, but like, if it is, like, imagine what could be done. And then we've just seen, I mean, at this point, 2-3 full cycles of bull and bear funding in Web3, the rise and fall of Axie Infinity, and more recently over the past year we've seen 80 plus 100, nearly 100 game studios kind of shut down, some of these titans and
Proof of play.
yeah, I mean, massive wild card recently, massive titles, massive founders. And for me, as someone who's been in the space for like coming up on 5 years, it's been a little bit jarring. It's been, disappointing at times. On the other hand, though, it's been like amazing. Like, we have Off the Grid on PlayStation 5, and we have Sonium, which is like a blockchain from Sony, which I thought would happen, but did not think it would happen as soon as like, 2025. Like I thought that might happen in 2030 or something like that. So, it's been like, I always reference like A Tale of Two Cities. It's like the best of times and the worst of times. And
Yeah.
I guess I'm just curious, like, from your perspective as a builder, game designer focused on, these economies and these games, just what's your perspective on the past, these past cycles?
Yeah, I mean, that's a super deep question. And I think how I would approach it would be, me as a person, I'm like a technocrat optimist. You know what I mean? Like, to me, I feel as though technology makes the world a better place. And when we use technologies to serve people, then that's when they're useful.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we were creating Skyweaver, the question we were asking ourselves was pretty simple. Why can't you trade your Hearthstone cards?
Mm.
Like, why can't you give your cards to your, like, I've been playing Hearthstone for 10 years. Why can't I give my friend that's starting all my hand-me-downs so that they can start playing the game with at least a semi-good deck, you know?
Yeah.
And so when I think about the market, I sort of think in the most optimistic way possible, where it's like, it might not be Bitcoin, it might not be Ethereum, it might not be Solana, but this technology is going to be the world's galactic credit. And, you know, thinking about it that way, aligning us kind of like to that Star Wars or Star Trek fantasy of the future, there are so many things in this technology that are just foundationally useful. You know, like banks. Why do we really need banks? Like, couldn't so much of this be simpler, and could there be less of a middleman taking that fee every single time? And so I'm not one to speculate on when crypto is going to go up, when crypto is going to go down, but I am one to speculate that this is absolutely useful, and eventually something will captivate everyone and use this technology, and then it'll just be normalized the same way the internet is, the same way phones are. And so I think it's definitely been scary when we sort of started Skyweaver. There was a bull market and there was a lot of people buying. And, you know, I advocated we should be selling packs. We should be doing all of this stuff to sort of make liquidity when you can. And I think that's sort of what we try to do now. It's, you make liquidity when you can, but if it's down, you know, we're driving to the path of success. And if that happens, you have to be a little optimistic, you know, because if you're always planning for failure, then you're going to fail.
Yeah.
If you're planning to succeed, then you might fail, but you're also set up for success. And so I think when it comes to the market, like, I'm always cautious, but I know that something is going to be the galactic credit, and I don't know what that is, but it gives me hope, you know? So I always look forward to looking at the markets and seeing what's happening and staying on top of it. But I'm also not someone that's day trading, if you know what I mean. My focus is making games that retain and that people really love.
Right. Perma bull, but cautiously optimistic, and directionally we're heading in the right direction. I like that. I tend to agree. Let's talk about like gaming and Web3 gaming specifically. What do you think? I'm just super curious, right? From a game designer perspective, from someone working in the space, across the space, you know, what do you think that we've gotten right, and what do you think that we've gotten wrong? You know, some of the things that have maybe stood out to you. You mentioned kind of like, you know, wallet abstraction and, you know, creating the liquidity when it's there, kind of things. But yeah, I mean, these past, you know, few years or kind of like go at it. It's like some of the games that have come to market. Is there anything that has stood out to you of like, oh wow, that was a really good design? Yes, this is like a foundational improvement. I like where this is going. That feels right. Or other things where it's like, oh man, this stuff is like, I don't know what we're doing here, guys. This doesn't make sense. Yeah. What do you think we got right? What do you think we got wrong?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely such an interesting topic to say, like, in isolation, can we take from all of these games the best aspects to make a super game? And I think that's kind of what all of us game designers do to a certain extent. We say like, oh, I really loved this system in Genshin Impact, or, you know, any Supercell game. But for me, I think we're not being true to what it needs to be. And I think this is sort of a really complex avenue, but for an NFT to be successful, it has to have utility
Mm-hmm.
most of the time. Unless it's a beautiful timeless art piece that someone's created that's, on chain or something like that. If you want an NFT to be successful, it has to have a cool utility
Mm-hmm.
that people can really get behind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one thing we've done too much of is give away these meaningless rewards and tokens and kind of promise things that we know we can achieve.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of teams in the Web3 space will, say, hey, we're going to build this 60-hour long The Last of Us, Unreal Engine 6. We got it before Rocket League, super preview, and then the game's going to be perfect. And then it releases and it's like HTML5 and it's, nothing. You feel like you're getting catfished. And so
it's the horse drawing meme, right? Where it's like the white paper, the deck, and then the demo, and then the reality and the launch or whatever. It just gets worse and worse and worse.
Exactly. And so I think like being earnest and honest about what you're doing and what you're building to your community and saying like, hey guys, this is what we're building. These are our goals. Mm-hmm. And we're going to tell you every step of the way. I think that's what the Web3 community needs more of. But I also think it's really important for us to look back at these games that we've built and take successes from them. Because, even if Pirate Nation is shut down, that taught us so many things about like social clout and is that important to people and is a world boss something that you want to do? Does that make people show up and retain? I think there's so many games that we can be proud of. You said it before, Off the Grid. That game's fun. And there have been a lot of not fun Web3 games. And so I think finding the fun is our job as a game designer. And I think it's sort of not necessarily the most important part of building games because there's always like the monetization and the business aspect of it. But if you find the fun and really make games fun, then I think they'll be successful and people will play them.
I love that. Let's talk about making some fun games. So Pocket Nights is one of the games incubated by Anomaly. Just curious. Oh, hold on, I'm trying to get this window correct here. Just curious, Anomaly. I think I saw a bunch of posts from Don't Die kind of being shared on Anomaly. I don't know if you guys I don't know what involvement you guys had there. Obviously Pocket Nights.
We built Don't Die.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Yeah, great game. Shout out to Nick Metzler. We had him on the show. Very, very fun game. I see a lot of similarities between Pocket Nights and Don't Die, some of the art style, some of the kind of gameplay. But I guess I'm curious. Talk to me about Pocket Nights. You guys have a close relationship with Sonium and Startail. I'd love to hear more about that story.
Yeah, so basically the goal was, what is the goal of Pocket Nights was like a hypothesis. Can we make card games easier and more snackable? And we make it something that's ubiquitous to people and something that anyone can play from age 2 to 85 or whatever is legal, and sort of what we wanted to do was capture this feeling of a card game that's really snackable. And so that means like you come to it, you play for your 30 minutes, your 8 to 30 minutes, you earn your packs, you rip your packs, and then you start playing you upgrade your decks, you fight against bosses, and eventually, hopefully, you have ranked mode and stuff like that where you can compete at the highest competitive integrity. But sort of the goal of it really was to start with the concept of 5 cards. Can we make a deck that's just 5 cards and make your deck your starting hand? And so that was really our hypothesis with this. And so far, we've been really happy with the results that we've seen. And working with Startail has been amazing. You know, they've been promoting us, and we've been on a lot of their AMAs, and just working with their team to get everything from the SDK working and the back end, and you know, just trying to make this game that feels unique and fits the ecosystem really well, so that if people want to come and have these snackable games and, you know, possibly get points towards like Startail events or, you know, unlock stuff like that, then they have this really like snackable, easy avenue that they can go down and play for like 30 minutes a day, or if they really want to invest a bunch of time, then they can. But that's sort of the concept.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty fun. I was playing a few minutes before we jumped on, just to kind of get a feel for it. Pretty straightforward. You know, this card battler. I haven't gotten this far, so I guess I'll scavenge the campfire. I don't know. Usually I would rest, but you know, feeling a little aggro. Oh, I guess that's just there. So do I go back? That's the training. So I guess I'm not ready to go up to this next level, but you know, pretty cool. You got these cards, you've got these kind of attacks. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, you know, Pirate Nation, their arcade game, you know, that they had, where you know, you've got your mana, and you play the cards, and there you go. quick little win there. I don't have the sound going, but I'm sure the sound is really clever. So you've got, you know, all of that stuff. You've got your quests. It's I think that's a really good description. It's this like snackable game. It's on Startail. You can play it on Telegram. I assume you can play it on Telegram. Is that correct?
You can't play this. This one's only on Startail.
Okay. But super simple. I mean, I've played a few Startail games now, and they're all very accessible. I actually really like the Startail platform. You know, you sign in, you get your wallet. You know, you can sign it, quick transaction. I don't need anything. It's all, they all handle it all, and then it's just kind of all on that platform. So far I've been really impressed with my Sonium experience and my time on Startail. I guess I'm curious from your perspective, Matthew, being a dev shop in Anomaly, having built, you know, Don't Die, which was published on AVAX, you know, something like Pocket Knights being published, you know, with Startail. Like, how are you guys finding it kind of working with different partners to make, you know, different kind of games in different ecosystems? Like, you know, are you finding pros and cons in different areas, or like, you know, does it just kind of make sense for you guys to just make games with great partners, and then, you know, like, great, like, we're making games and people are happy, and, you know, we're exploring these new design spaces with, you know, different chains and different ecosystems? I don't know. I'm really curious about that relationship from Anomaly's side with the different, you know, people that you'll end up working with.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, and we're so honored to be able to work with Startail and AVAX, and building Pocket Knights and Don't Die has just been such a pleasure. I think really what we look for is anyone that's trying to build up this community and work as a team to make high quality products. And so when we you know, have we reach out to AVAX, or we reach out to Startail, or Startail reaches out to us, you know, we're honored or surprised or, you know, appreciative, but we're also understanding, you know, because we now have the merit to sort of build these games. And one thing we've done is build these games really fast. And I've been so impressed by our engineers, Thomas and Quan. You know, they've just done work that I wouldn't think was possible, you know, especially years ago. But now that we sort of live in the world of AI, we can sort of integrate with GitHub and integrate design with these pipelines and say, you know, oh, if there's a little bug, we can just go in and tweak that. And I think what these amazing teams like AVAX and Startail enable us to do is just be creatively free. And I think when it comes to what you said about what's sort of the differences between them, for example, like Don't Die is very AVAX centric. You know, the goal of Don't Die is like, this is a game where you really want to push risk and reward. And so if you start out and you buy a huge NFT and you play this run and you get 30 minutes into it, and then at the end of the season you're getting, you know, 6x or 10x your entry and even 100x your entry, you've had the best time ever. And so that's sort of something that we do, is we lean towards what we think would be successful with that team. And so, you know, Don't Die sort of had that lean towards AVAX, whereas Pocket Knights has this really easy adaptability that invites people into it. And that's what we felt would be successful with Startail, you know, something that is really easy, and people can retain super well, and people can understand that this is a big part game, but it's also a big part collecting and making sure that you have a good deck and joining events with your friends to see if everyone can, you know, defeat the big siege boss, and make sure at the end of the day that it's a community event. And I think that's what Startail brings to us, is this really big community. And so that's what we want to support with anything that we add to Pocket Nights, is really community driven events. And yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No, go ahead.
So I guess like, what is the key to success, or what are you guys finding as the key to success with the games that you're making? Are there any things that are like kind of coming up again and again, recurring? Because I kind of noticed, you know, Don't Die kind of had this season 1 prize pool. Pocket Nights is also kind of doing this seasonal prize pool type of thing. Like, I'm curious from a game design perspective where you guys are finding success in that player retention, that player fun, you know, attracting gamers to the game, and then, you know, keeping them in there, you know, maybe driving that spend and app purchase, or, you know, high retention metrics. Like from a design perspective, what have you guys seen?
Yeah, so I mean, that's a really good question. I think one thing you'll see in our games is that we have sort of these modules that we bring from one to the next. And so if you're thinking about like a daily quest system, what should that look like? In most games, it's pretty similar. You know what I mean? And so if we bring that daily quest system throughout all of our games, and then we say, oh, you know, maybe we should add a weekly quest section. And so what we can kind of do is work on all of those games in parallel and say, because we had this lesson from Don't Die where people were saying, hey, can we have a weekly leaderboard as well as a seasonal leaderboard? We can take that information and just bring it straight into Pocket Nights and say, you know, oh, these people really loved this. And we saw through our analytics that people really resonated with this thing that we did. Let's try it in our other game and see if it resonates just as well. And so sort of the things that are always successful are like quests, referrals, battle passes. I would say if you want to talk like a really technical game perspective is like perceived high value items. So like if you want to cater to your audience in Web3, you have to have some whale centric things, just because there is that one whale that is willing to spend $1,000 on your game. And, $1,000 might not seem like a lot, but $1,000 means a lot to a lot of studios and a lot of people building games. I know game designers that have worked on games for 2 years and not been paid a single penny, and then released it on Steam and 2 people downloaded it.
Yeah.
So it's monetization is important for us, but at the same time, are we giving you something that you feel is worth it for that money? And we would never want to make you feel like you're getting ripped off or like you're purchasing something meaninglessly. Like if you're buying something, then we want you to feel good. And
how do you actually achieve that though? Because I think that's like, that is the goal, but it's so hard to do. How do you create, that value? How do you, understand the player base, or are you guys doing research into, the players and targeting specifically, certain characteristics or demographics, or, incorporating that into the design? Or is it all just kind of like, shooting from the hip, like, well, we think this is going to work, and, these typically work? Like, what does that kind of look like in practice?
Yeah, well, I'd say, like, technically speaking, one of the amazing things about AI is that it's very good at parsing big data sets. And so with our analytics system, with our Discord, with our social media, what we can do is really take feedback from everyone instantaneously and integrate that into our product pipeline.
Yeah.
And so basically, when we see someone saying, this card isn't balanced, I'm really unhappy because this card isn't balanced. Well, if you're a game designer and you look at that, you say, oh, I have to buff it. Oh, I have to nerf it. But, that person could be completely wrong. And that feedback is still useful, but that card could be, perfectly balanced, all things considered.
Yeah.
And so what you have to do is sort of take all of these tickets from your audience and say, I care about you. I care about what you're saying here. The battle pass doesn't feel like it's generous enough. Yeah. Like I empathize with you. That's awesome. So what we want to do is next season make the battle pass more generous. And so if you compile your audience's input and say, oh, there's 10 people that are saying the battle pass is too generous, and there's 50 people saying that the battle pass is not generous enough, sort of who wins? Does majority win? And you can sort of make these calls yourself, but one thing you can do really well is say, Claude, can you analyze all of these signals that we're getting from all of these different locations?
Right.
And can you give us sort of a sense of what's most important to our community, what's urgent, what needs to be done? And then, Claude is a little annoying at this, but sometimes it'll be like, you're the greatest.
Yeah.
I love you. Thank you. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And getting Claude to be realistic with you and saying like, hey, this is how you improve your game.
Yeah.
Is not necessarily giving it the reins, but and I think I would say the same about AI in most things. It's like I use it to break writer's block.
Yeah.
I don't use it to write an entire story. I don't use it to make an entire game.
Right.
When I'm confused, I say, hey, what about this, or what about that? Have you ever considered this before?
Yeah.
And you get perspective from another degree that you can just use. And so I think how we integrate feedback into our design pipeline is really something that's amazing, and really something that we're thankful for when it comes to these new technologies, and staying on top, because we don't have the biggest social media team, we don't have the biggest community team, but we really do, all of us on our team care about our players. And so making sure that we can listen to them, and even have a synopsis of what they all want to say to us on a daily basis is super useful. And so I think that's kind of what sets us apart.
I love that. Well said. Well said. Are there any other games that you guys have made that you want to highlight, or that we would know or be familiar with, or are there any games in the pipeline? Maybe not, maybe you can't name them directly, but anything that like you would tease of like, well, there's this game on this chain that we're working with, or with this person that we're working with. Just curious, kind of like how, again, past record of games, and maybe anything else coming that you can tease out there.
Yeah, I mean, we've done a bunch of games. We've built games for Aptos and Plume, and I think where we're sort of going is, how do we build these games so fast that we can capture culture? And kind of what I mean by that is like, I'm trying to think of a really good recent meme.
I always hate when I'm like, I just saw this meme. Like, it's
I
on
just
the
saw
tip
this
of my
meme.
tongue. Yeah, I've spent like an obscene amount of time scrolling through Twitter trying to find like did I like it? Did I bookmark it? Where was that?
But capturing that. So, I have a good one for like K-pop Demon Hunters. K-pop Demon Hunters doesn't have a game, right? And that moment when everyone in the world was singing Golden together, like, that is really inspiring. And how can we sort of capture that moment and make a game to capture that moment, and sort of use technology to make sure that we're honoring the IP and also honoring the fans, because we want to make it good. We don't want to make it a game that's made in 2 minutes that's shitty. We want to make a game that's made in 2 minutes that everyone can resonate with and connect with on a deep level.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's where we're going, especially with AI gaming. I'm good friends with Sam and the team over at Remix. I know Tony Valcarcel is working on Mako, these AI kind of game, shops. I had Justin Waldron on the show, and he was very bullish on AI gaming, and the project that he was working on, Play.Fun, is kind of built around the token side of it. And he really like this idea of flash in a pan style games, where it's like, the lifespan of this game might be 3 days, and therefore the token might be 3 days as well. But from like from a very real philosophical place, he was building at the intersection of like this mimetic game society that we're in, which I personally, like, I see that makes a lot of sense, but at the same time, I like I'm kind of a fan of like forever games. It's like, I'm big in Arc Raiders right now. I feel like that game has
Oh,
has a long lifespan, although debatably. But I come from Zelda and RuneScape, and these timeless kind of games that inspire is like the type of gamer that I am.
yeah.
But I obviously gaming is a spectrum, right? And they'll exist on all spectrums. Um, I guess I wanted to ask you, uh, so like in that vein, where do you think that we are going that is really exciting to you personally? Um, is it the AI perspective? Is it deeper gamer insights or customer, quote unquote insights, player behavior insights to build more enriching experiences? I mean, that's really kind of like the sense that I get from you, Matthew. Like there's a lot of heart and soul within Anomaly, and you guys, like build and design from first principles and put a lot of passion into what you do, which I love. And I mean, that's like the dream for, any and all indie game developer. They just want to make cool things.
Yeah.
But I guess like where are you really excited with Anomaly and with where things are going, over the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months with game design, with AI, with like this space that we're in?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's something that is really powerful, which is, I don't know how much you use AI tooling, but for me, 6 months ago, it was useless. And I know this isn't the case for a lot of people, but 6 months ago, it was basically a little toy, something like, oh, edit my document, or, give me perspective on this document and tell me what I'm missing.
Yeah.
Sure, that's useful. Now that we have MCP servers and we have CLIs being developed by these companies, Notion building CLIs, the things that we can do are scaling so fast
Yeah.
that it's inspiring, terrifying, exciting, just such a mix of emotions. And at the same time, you're sort of trying to ground yourself in reality. How can I make this product as successful as possible? And how can we relate to a lot of people? And so, like, for example, games like FIFA, a new FIFA comes out every year, but does that have every player from the draft? Does that have all of these people? Is that a forever game?
Mm-hmm.
And no, it's not really a forever game, because you have to buy a new FIFA every year.
Right.
And so if you're building these agentic games where the game's goal is to build itself and improve itself all the time, you're sort of constantly impressed at what can be done. And so, like, for example, we're always working on games internally. That's just one thing we all love to do. And so we look at sort of like, what are things that bring people together? Is that a game show? Is that basketball? Is that shooting someone with a AK-47, or trying to get that 360 no scope? It's that moment of, how do we make something that resonates with people and does a service to them? Because I say this thing that's a little confusing to some people, but if you build a game for everyone, you build a game for no one.
Right.
And so there are these timeless games like League of Legends, like RuneScape, that have their moments, but those are really specifically designed for one type of player.
Mhm.
And the moment is so important to capture, giving people that timeless experience, but also it's timeless because it updates.
Mhm.
You know, it's timeless because League of Legends gets better every month, every 2 months, every 3 months, every 4 months. RuneScape, you know, they tried to make RuneScape 3. I mean, RuneScape 3 is still pretty successful, but like old school RuneScape is what most people play now, right?
Yeah.
And so we always want to capture that moment. And with live ops, we say like, how successful is this game? You know, is this game worth creating a forever game with? You
Mhm.
know, do the players really love this? And so like when we look at Pocket Nights, when we look at Don't Die, we want to support it as much as it's resonating with the players. And so like when we see Pocket Nights and a whole bunch of people love and be excited about it, we really want to support that and say like, let's give you features, let's give you exciting things as fast as we can so that you feel like you're part of something that's alive. I think that's really the heart of it, is making something that feels alive using AI and not making it feel lifeless, you know.
I love that. I love that. I couldn't agree more. Matthew, you've been amazing. I just have a few more questions for you. I can't believe we're already at the top of the hour. These interviews end up going so fast. Going back to crypto and Web3 games specifically, what are some of the things that still need to be figured out from your opinion? What's some of the work that still needs to be done? What would you like to see happen? Um, or just like what do these games need to like be more successful from your perspective? Maybe taking it outside of Anomaly specifically, but just generally the space. When you look at the players, different chains, different publishers, different games, what is still lacking that you're like, man, like we haven't solved this yet?
I think one of the things that's really hard is like the meta right now is IPs.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing is, when are we going to have trust from these big brands and communities that aren't scared to invest in these products? And we see it with Sony. You know, that's a brave choice to say, we support Web3. We want to see what it can do. We want to understand this community and this ecosystem really well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think one thing is, I think a lot of negativity was around the Web3 space when it first started. And it was sort of, I don't know, this isn't the nicest word, but it's like when people are a bit Luddite or when they're a bit like Luddite-ish, I think we want to be kind to them and say, hey, this technology is scary for us too, but it serves you. And when it, at the very foundation of Web3 for me is, why can I not give my friend Hearthstone cards?
Yeah.
And,
trading card game where you can't trade cards.
A trading card game where you can't trade cards, that breaks my heart. And
Yeah.
I think it breaks a lot of people's hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing for me is the Ready Player One aspect, where it's like, what if I'm playing League of Legends and I can bring in, or what if I'm playing Valorant and I can bring Darius's axe in as a melee weapon? Or what if I can bring that even to like Sony and bring Kratos's axe to League of Legends, And how are we going to be doing these crazy IP partnerships in the future? That's a really hard question to capture, but I think sort of more trust will bring bigger communities and more trust in these IPs. Like always, we respect the ears. That's what saying that we have is like, if you're going to be building a game for Disney, you always respect the ears. And so like we kind of want that respect to go both ways. And I think that's sort of how we make this community more successful, and how we make gaming, Web3 gaming, more successful is we sort of give it a chance and say like, hey, here's a triple A game built by a really good studio. Here's a game with really powerful IPs. You know, like, I don't know if you saw, this might be like gaming news, Chaotic. A lot of people saw Chaotic is coming back, which is like a trading card game.
Okay.
And people were like, is this going to be Web3? Are these cards going to be tokenized?
Yeah.
And it's like, I would be curious to see if they do tokenize their cards, because they have serialization on them. Mm-hmm. And that's like a pretty big IP in the trading card community. So it's like, it's always nice to see trust from people. You know, we're trying to give you a good product, and we're going to honor that continuously so that you can see that we have a commitment to this, because a lot of bad actors have hurt this community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we want to not focus on that, and we want to focus on the teams that are building and really care, you know? And I think the more we have that trust as a community, the more we work together to build these products up, and more people like you that help push this community up on a pedestal and say like, hey, we love talking with each other, we love connecting, we love sharing our knowledge to help each other get where we want to go. I think that's how we're gonna be more successful in this space.
I love it. Matthew, you're amazing. Anomaly is really cool. What is it like if someone were to see this, or a game, because I have a lot of, you know, games and founders and whatnot in my network. And so if someone were to see this and they wanted to work with Anomaly, like, how does that even work? You know, do they just reach out, get involved? I guess the links are probably on the website. You know, are you guys, you know, taking on new clients, and like, what does that kind of look like, and what is the best way to get in touch and get started?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking for amazing people to connect with, whether you're a builder, an investor, a social media marketer, you know, anything. If you are inspired by what we do and you think you can help, or if you're inspired by anyone on our team or anyone that we believe in this community, then reach out. You know, I love LinkedIn. I know this is a controversial take, but my LinkedIn's Matthew Shira. If you want to connect with me and ask me questions about Web3 gaming or economy design or anything along those lines, you know, reach out to us, because we're committed to making this community a better place and inviting everyone into this community. And I think that's sort of what we have to do. But other than that, Anomaly is on all social medias. Reddit is really good. And then Anomaly Games Inc. on Twitter is sort of the foundation of where you can find updates. Also, we have a Discord too that's pretty active.
I love that. Matthew, I mean, I feel like we could go another hour easily, but I try not to do that on the first interview, so we'll definitely have to have you back at some point. Is there anything, though, really quick closing out, that we didn't touch on that you would just want to mention or highlight, or did we kind of cover the bases?
Yeah, I mean, I think we covered it all. I would say if you love trading card games, you love connecting with other people, and if you love beating giant bosses with your friends, give Pocket Nights a try. Season 2 is coming soon, and it's really going to be a blast. We have a bunch of new features coming, a bunch of events, and we're just so excited to be here with everyone and share this community.
That's fantastic, man. Well, thank you so much, man. You're we said it before the show started, but you've got this really great energy, and the passion just kind of comes through. And you know, that's what I love about this
Thank you.
show is that talking to indie developers, game designers like yourself, just gets me inspired and reinvigorated. The space isn't hasn't been the easiest to be a builder in. I guess like real last question, just like, you know, to close out, what is your advice to staying, you know, positive and motivated and, you know, believing in this space through the ups and downs? How are you so jolly joy, Matthew?
Yeah, I always have this perspective where it's like things could be worse, you know,
Mm.
and maybe that's not always the best way to look at things, but I think
It's like Bitcoin could be $50,000. Like it could be worse.
exactly it could be worse. I think just being grateful for
Yeah.
this time that we're experiencing, and like
Mm.
the fact that we get to do really cool things all the time. Like, I build video games. That's my career.
Yeah.
I when I was in school, I didn't think that would ever be possible. And so, you know, making sure people know that this is a career that you can do. You can build games if you really love it. You know, it's hard work. It's not the easiest thing in the world. Some days are going to be hard, just like any job. But at the end of the day, you know, I think just being grateful. Like, we have an amazing community. We have an amazing team that's so kind and heartfelt and wants this thing to be successful. There's a lot of things you got to be thankful for, and I'm very thankful for you having me on here today. So that's it was an honor, and I really appreciated your time as well.
Likewise, man. I'm grateful to have you on and to be able to spend the time. Matthew, you're incredible, man. We wish you the best with Anomaly in the games. My DMs are always open if there's anything that I can do to support you guys or to continue kind of elevating you guys. I love it, man. Don't Die is an incredible game. Pocket Nights, super fun for the 5 minutes that I've played so far. Definitely be checking it out more. Star Tale has been incredible. Like I'm really impressed with them, and so love to see more kind of games building on their platform or launching on their platform. And yeah, hope that you guys get to keep building really cool, really fun games within the ecosystem. That's gonna do it, guys, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in the chat. Appreciate y'all hanging out. We had some people, the regulars kind of pull through: Doji, Crypto Grit, Ghost Cat, Ice and Dark, AE. So much love. We've got another big interview tomorrow that I'm super excited for. So same time, Gaming Daily, 5 p.m. EST. Shout out to Blaze. Shout out to YGG. Shout out to Matthew and Anomaly Games. And with that,